Okay, so we do need energy, right, for our daily activities. To stay alive, definitely we need energy. And it's not like means I give you one-time energy, then sufficient. But generally, we need to have the energy that continuously supply us. Okay, so this energy, basically, the whole living organism, all living organism, we obtain the energy from where? From plants, right? Because the plant is the one that carry out photosynthesis, so means that the input of energy always comes from the absorptions of the light energy by plants. So therefore, we always put the plants as the primary, as our producer. Correct not? So there's input of the energy, which is the light energy. So when the plants carry out the photosynthesis, they're going to convert this light energy into the chemical potential energy, because plant carry out photosynthesis and it produce. Okay, now very important when we use the word photosynthesis, generally means that they are going to produce what? Not the food, but the organic carbon compound. Okay, so means that with the input of the CO2, with the input of the H2O, then we can actually get the photosynthesis and we get the organic carbon compound, for example, our starch, for example, our protein. So this protein and starch, when consumed by the consumer, right? Okay, this protein and starch can be consumed by the consumer. So again, in the form, so this one we call as a chemical potential energy. Can you see that? Are you clear? That is a whole series of the transfer of the energy. Okay, from the light energy. Okay, plants will take this absorb this light energy together with the CO2 and also the water. Then photosynthesis can be carried out. So with the photosynthesis, it produces the organic carbon compound. Don't say it as a food. Okay, only us can cook the food. Okay, for the plants, they don't cook their own food, they don't prepare their own food, but what they do, they actually synthesize the organic carbon compounds such as the starch and the proteins. So they are chemical potential energy. So when this chemical potential energy consumed by the consumer, for example, herbivore, okay, then this herbivore will pass the energy to the carnivore, for example, omnivore. Okay, so from here, we will see that there is a transfer of the energy. So we're going to learn this one in detail when you are in third semester, when we study about the ecosystem. Okay, so based on the ability whether an organism can carry out the photosynthesis and produce the organic carbon compound or not, we classify the organism into two broad categories. One we call as autotrophs versus another one is a heterotroph. Autotroph, basically, we group them under this called producer. Basically means that they have the ability to produce the complex organic carbon compounds, such as carbohydrate, fats, and proteins from a simple substance present in the surrounding. So in this case, they need to have the inputs of the light, for example. Okay, so some of them can produce, okay, organic carbon compound from the inorganic chemical compound. For example, certain bacteria, they have the ability to convert, right, from one organic compound to another, from one inorganic compound to become the organic compound. During the process, the energy is released and they will use this energy to form their organic compound. Are you clear? But for us, we're going to focus into this. Photosynthesis is the methods that actually put in the energy or absorb the energy from the lights and then transfer it to the to make the chemical potential, okay, energy. I mean, by having these chemical compounds, okay, or organic chemical organic compounds, okay. And if we can produce, okay, the organic carbon compound, then we belongs to this group called heterotrophs. Okay, heterotroph basically means that we can't fix carbons from the inorganic source. For example, carbon dioxide. We cannot absorb carbon dioxide and then produce our own organic compound. So therefore, we belong to this group called heterotrophs. We only can gain the organic carbon compound from the autotrophs. Okay. So if you look at the transfer of the material and energy in an ecosystem, then we can see that the chloroplast carry out photosynthesis. So when it carry out photosynthesis, then you're going to release the organic carbon compound. Can you see the organic carbon compound? So this organic carbon compound can be we can use it to carry out the respirations. So therefore ATP is synthesized. Okay, and then we release the CO2. So this CO2 will be absorbed by the plants, okay, and then to make the new organic carbon compound. So it's a cycling. Can you see that? We continue to cycle the carbon compounds here. Okay, so definitely we need to have the light energy, definitely, because light energy is the input of the energy for the entire food chains and food web within an ecosystem. So in order to carry out photosynthesis, definitely we need the water, and the CO2 and oxygen is the products that we use in the respiration. So respiration and photosynthesis, they actually reverse of each other. Okay. So now I want you guys to use the terms, okay, to complete the paragraphs, okay, or the passage below. Okay, so 2 minutes, complete it. So assume that you guys have done for this part already. So we're going to complete the paragraph using the given term. Now in the exam, you need to fill in something like this, but you won't be given the choices of terms. Yeah, okay, quite common. Okay, in A2, sometimes you can see that you are given the paragraph, and then you need to fill in the blank, but no choices. Okay, no term will be given, so you need to remember the scientific terms here. Okay, so the process of photosynthesis, okay, in chloroplast, right, transfer what kind of energy to which kind of energy? So it transfer the light energy to chemical potential energy. Okay, and so almost all life on the earth actually depends on the photosynthesis, either directly or indirectly. So for plants, directly. For consumer, then indirectly. So photosynthesis supply living organism with usable complex organic carbon compounds. Okay, so all biological molecules such as carbohydrates, lipids, protein, and nucleic acid contain carbon atoms. So all living organisms therefore need a source of carbon atoms. So from where we can get heterotrophs? Heterotrophs have to get it from the plants. Okay, organisms that can use the inorganic carbon source, such as carbon dioxide, are known as autotrophs. Okay, because they can produce their own organic carbon compound. However, organisms that needs a ready-made organic supply of the carbons are known as heterotrophs. Heterotrophs. So organic molecule can be used by living organisms in two ways. They can serve as the building blocks for making other organic molecules. They are essential to organism. For example, glucose can be used to make the glycogen, can make the starch, can make the cellulose. Okay, and they can be represent the chemical potential energy that can be released by breaking down the molecule in respiration. So if, for example, glucose, if you don't want to use the glucose to make the building blocks, so for example, to make the starch, we don't want to use it to make the glycogen, then we break it down. So when you break down the glucose, energy release is a catabolic reaction. So when you break down the glucose, catabolic reaction release the energy. So this energy is released through the process of respiration. So this energy can be used for all form of work. Therefore, heterotroph depend on autotroph for both materials and also the energy. Okay, so until this part's quite simple. So highlight this one. Okay, highlight this part because this is the one that always asked in the exam. Okay, now just a quick one to let you guys know. There's a change in the syllabus. Okay, for A2 syllabus and the formats of the exam in your paper 4. Okay, previously in paper 4, we're going to have the essay questions. So where you have to answer the essay question, 2 questions, choose 1. But now in the change of the syllabus and the format, so the new format is there's no choice in terms of the essay question. The essay question will be integrated in the part of the structure question. So therefore now we don't have choice. So you know, say, okay, this topic I don't want to learn, so put it aside. No, cannot, because we don't have choice now. Okay, choices in this case to choose which question I want to answer. So one of the questions asked here, okay, a quite common question asked, why we need to have the energy, why we need to have the supply of the energy, what we use of this energy. Okay, so I have summarized here for you guys. So table 5.1 actually show the chemical potential energy used in organism. So we can use this potential energy to synthesize the complex substances in the anabolic reaction from simpler molecule. For example, we synthesize polysaccharide from monosaccharide. So these polysaccharides such as starch for the plant, glycogen, carbohydrates, okay, for animals, okay, lipid from glycerol and fatty acid, okay, polypeptide from amino acids, nucleic acid from nucleotides. Okay, so one thing that you have to understand here is when we talk about these anabolic reactions, okay, anabolic reaction only refer to when you build up, right? So when during these anabolic reactions, okay, we do know that if you look at the energy diagrams here, time, this is the energy level. Then you can see that our reactants have very low energy level compared to the products. So therefore, in order to gain this, to overcome this activation energy, right? You can see that the huge activation energy here. So to overcome this activation energy, we need to supply the energy so that it can overcome this activation energy. Okay, therefore we can form the product. So this is anabolic reaction. So when we have learned in the biological molecule previously, glucose plus glucose, we get the maltose, it's not as easy as that, because if the glucose and glucose, okay, can spontaneously or randomly, they actually can, again, react with another glucose, then forever we won't have glucose in our body, okay? So this activation energy prevents a spontaneous reaction between two glucose molecules. Okay, so we need to supply the energy so that this glucose molecule can overcome this activation energy and allow them to reach the transition stage and then allow the reaction to take place. Even with the enzyme only can lower down the activation energy, they cannot cancel or remove the activation energy. Are you clear? Okay, now, next, what else we use the energy? We use the energy, for example, ATP. We hydrolyze the ATP, therefore supply the energy for the active transport. For example, in the nerve cells, okay, on neurons, sodium potassium pump actively pump 3 sodium ions from the cytoplasm into the tissue fluids and take in 2 potassium ions from the tissue fluids into the cytoplasm. So therefore, again, because we against the concentration gradient, therefore require ATP. Okay, so for mechanical work, for example, muscle contractions, where we're going to contract our muscle, therefore ATP is required. Okay, cellular movement, for example, the movement of the cilia and flagella, amoeboid movements, and okay, for example, amoeba, how amoeba crawl. Okay, and also the movement of vesicle and also the organelle inside the cytoplasm. Therefore, we do need the cellular movement. So this cellular movement have to be powered by using the ATP. Okay, so some organisms, they can actually have this what we call the bioluminescence, means that they can actually grow and glow in dark. Okay, some jellyfish actually show us that they have the ability to glow in dark. Okay, so by having this bioluminescence of have the fluorescence protein, so ability to produce light. For example, the anglerfish. So how they produce the light? In this case, they need the ATP. Okay, so bioluminescence is a common feature among many marine animals, so well represented in the jellyfish. And some organisms can have an electrical discharge. For example, the electric eel generates a large electric current by the way of highly specialized nervous system. So they can generate the electricity. So in this case, they require ATP to do so. Okay. Now, in some endotherm, for example, mammal and birds, we do have a very constant body, or what call it, the core body temperature, right? 37 degrees Celsius. Okay. It doesn't mean that when you go into the aircon room and the surrounding about 21 degrees Celsius, 22 degrees Celsius, then your body temperature will drop down to 22 degrees Celsius. So how we maintain our constant body temperature? We constantly use or release the thermal energy. So the hydrolysis of ATP release the heat energy. So this heat energy will be used in our body. Okay, so therefore we can maintain our core body temperature. Okay, but how we maintain? We need energy first. Are you clear? Okay, so with this, I have done for the first part, the needs of energy in living organism.